This movie looks really nice. The trailers presented one thing. I believe we got something else. And did I have fun? I pretty much did. Was it enjoyable? I would say so. Was the main concept good and interesting? For sure. And would I rewatch this? Absolutely. Would I recommend you watch it? Not at all. Hello everyone, my name is Max Aaron James. This is a review of the movie Him, written by Skip Bronke, Zach Akers, and Justin Tipping, directed by Justin Tipping. This is an over-stylized allegory following the football prodigy Cameron Cade. And after an incident, he gets invited to be personally trained by someone he and his father looked up to, Isaiah White. He learns pretty quickly that this is not just regular personal training, and things are not what they seemed. And it presents the theme of meeting your heroes, and when you finally meet your idols, and people, everyone's just human and people are flawed, but also how far are you willing to go and what are you willing to sacrifice to be great in your field or to be successful in general. This movie clocking in at about an hour 35, 36, perfect time. It looks good, and I will always appreciate something original, no matter the execution. This movie is very original, even though it clearly takes influences from prior movies, but what movie doesn't? One major issue for me is that this movie tries very hard to be scary in moments when it did not have to be. I personally thought this was a sci-fi horror, but it turns out to be a supernatural horror. I don't think that really spoils anything for you. And I don't think for most of the hour and a half, we got that it was supernatural. Of course, there maybe are hints, and maybe it's like, oh, it's obvious, it's lingering, da da da. But I never truly got that, and it wasn't until maybe the last 2 minutes that something happened that was clearly supernatural that I was like, oh. And those weird but really nice looking visuals that were in the trailer, most of them lend nothing to the narrative, and they still looked nice, but if you remove them and if you remove the supernatural element, you really lose nothing from the story at all. The story is still, the main story is still pretty good, it still looks nice, and the performances are still captivating and great. The directing overall is pretty good, and you still have a story. I would say an even better movie if you did remove those things. And I think it's because those visuals and those moments that you see in the trailer that were meant to captivate the audience, at least visually, were empty promises. And even during the movie, they don't contribute anything. By the end of the movie, you realize they mean nothing. They matter none. And of course, a lot of this was metaphors, and sure, you can decipher them to mean something, but they still lend nothing to the story. And I think that a lot of it takes away, and those were moments that took me out of the movie, because when we got to those moments, I knew immediately by the first one that it was there strictly to feel eerie, and because it's a nice shot that either Tipping or the other two writers had thought, Bronke and Akers, had thought about, but weren't sure how to insert it into the story, so you just plopped it in as illusions. They looked nice. I will admit, they looked nice, but every time I watched them, I didn't care because I knew it meant nothing. And maybe Justin Tipping didn't recognize what he already had, a story about someone who meets their hero and finds out their hero is not who they think they are or who they pretend to be, and their hero is pushing them and challenging them to their limits. Like, do you deserve to take my spot? And how far are you willing to go to take my spot? What are the lengths you're willing to go just as a person to be great in whatever it is that you do? And are you willing to make the sacrifice that so many people make? I think this also speaks on the culture of football fandom and how fans react, and how a lot of people believe they have to, what they believe they have to do to get to these heights of being the great in a certain sport. And this movie has an issue of under-explaining a lot of things. However, I would rather someone under-explains than holds my hand throughout the entire movie and treats me like I'm stupid. This movie is fun. I was engaged for the first half for sure, even with those couple moments that I knew meant nothing. It's when we get to the final act and the climactic ending. For me, it seemed that they went a bit overboard. And I'm not talking about the violence and gore and blood. I see a lot of people complaining about that. I love that. It's the needing to insert that supernatural element and explaining it. And maybe the idea, again, it makes sense. It's not maybe what I would have expected. So I don't want to mark it or take away points for that. It just how it was presented and how it was executed. And when we get to that final or climactic moment, it was a bit convenient when we get Cade and White to that final moment together because it kind of didn't make sense to me. Julia Fox, Marlon Wayans, Tyreek Withers, great casting. We got great performances from all three of them as expected and from other in the casting and in the film. But them three, their chemistry, how they worked off one another, it seemed like they were enjoying themselves and having fun, especially Marlon. I found the editing to be well done, the directing, and it looked nice. As you can see from just the trailer, it looks really clean and crisp. Now, Tyreek Withers, a bit, in a way, an up-and-comer. I hope to see him have more work and be in great films and at least entertaining movies like this. He deserves more than a garbage remake of a 1997 film. Because now he has kind of two strikes against him, because from what I hear or what I'm seeing is that this movie is getting a lot of bad ratings. Although I think this movie is very flawed, I was still having fun. And I still found the characters interesting. I still found this world interesting. And this movie is a visual medium. It's part of a visual medium. So although I have issues with some scenes, the sparkly mascot, the guy making the goat sound, and a couple other shots that I think are meaningless, I still understand in this visual medium it's to appeal to people, because people are going to see moments like that and it might inspire someone to replicate those shots or to do something similar. But again, they could have kept those in the trailer. Hopefully Tipping gets another opportunity. I still like the way this was directed. I still enjoyed myself. I still had fun. Until next time, y'all take care of each other, check up on one another, make sure you check up on yourself, and remember, potential has no limit.